Hey YouTube, Edward here. The last couple of videos were all about data visualization. Although I still have to discuss the pivot table, I wanted this time to take a step back and tell you all I know about filters and prompts. As we discuss these, I will take the opportunity to explain how navigation from report to report works, but more on that at the end of this video. Now let's get started. Let's start with some filters that are sometimes added to your reports without that you might know about it. These implicit filters are useful, very useful. But the most important thing is that you need to know that they are there, that they were added, as they have a big impact on your report results. Check out this boring list of accounts. Notice how I have a set of ABC customers here. Now watch what happens when I add the number of activities for these accounts. They've disappeared. They were filtered out. Let me explain what happened. This used to be a list of all customers. And it has become a list of customers with their number of activities. Customers without activities were filtered out. Now, this does not have to be a problem though. It's very easy to bring them back. And I'll add a link to the top right of this screen to another video where I explain on how to do that. From all the filters we can use in Oracle BI, let me first have a look at those filters that we can best relate to, those that are most obvious and expected to be there. After that, we will discuss the more interesting ones. Check out this report. This simple report is nothing more than open and closed revenue information per industry. But it is all I need to explain the majority of the available filters. Let's start easy by restricting this list to only the revenue information of one particular industry. I go to criteria. And on the industry, I choose to add a filter, whereby I specify that I want to see industry names equal to whatever I type here, or if I'm lazy, I just pick a value from this picker. And there we go. Changing a filter is equally easy. Back to criteria. Hover over the filter, choose to edit, and maybe pick a second value. Another set of filters that we know all too well are those filters that allow us to specify a range. For instance, I could choose to see only those industries with open opportunity revenue above 1 million. Back to criteria. I add a filter on open opportunity revenue, where it is greater than 1 million. And similar filters exist for less than or equal, and greater than or equal. And then there is a special one to define a range, the is between filter. Here I can specify a minimum and a maximum value. In this case, I want to see those industries with an open opportunity revenue in between 1 million and 10 million. There is one last thing you need to know about the is between filter. Check out the open opportunity revenue for travel and transportation, 4,472,700. Let me use that as my maximum value. I set the value to my maximum value, and travel and transportation is still there. The minimum and maximum value are included into the results. Check out the closed opportunity revenue value for automotive. There is no value. That does not mean that the value is zero though. If I would apply a filter to see those industries that have a closed opportunity revenue value equals to 0, automotive would not show up. Because the value is not 0. The value is simply not there, is missing or is unknown. And we have two special filters to work with these empty values. Go to Criteria and add a filter where closed opportunity revenue is equal to null. Is null means is empty or unexistent. And there's my automotive. And of course we have the opposite filter to see those industries that do have a value. There is not null filter. This time I have sorted my report by open opportunity revenue. We have special filters to focus on the best or the least performing industries. Go back to Criteria, add a filter, and specify that I want to see the top 10 only. Perfect. And I could of course do the same thing to see the bottom 10. You cannot just do this with number fields, but with character or date fields also. And that brings us to the end of the list of obvious filters. But there's one last thing I need to show. I mentioned a few filters so far. In the last example we used the top and bottom filter. Now imagine you would like to use that same filter on a character field like the industry name. Well, then that filter is not really there, because depending on the data type behind your column, those filters change names or are slightly different. Instead of top and bottom, for character fields it's called rank last or first. And for character fields there are a few other ones, like industry names that begin with a certain pattern or end with a certain pattern. It's maybe not a bad idea if you go and check out all the different filters for a character field, a date field, and a number field, just to understand the difference between them. So far, we have hard-coded values in our filters, and most often that will make sense. But in some situations, you need a filter that adapts. A filter that shows, for instance, different data according to the month or quarter you're in. Or a filter that adapts to the user that is using the report. We can do this using variables. Check out this list of open opportunities per owner. And now imagine that you want this report only to show those opportunities for the user that is logged in, not for all users. This is how it works. Go back to Criteria and I've added a column here with the owner ID. I will add a filter where I specify that the employee party ID needs to be equal to not a value, but to a variable. And now, whilst I'm logged in as Matt Hooper, I only see opportunities for Matt Hooper. Each application that uses Oracle BI has a list of such variables that you can use in your reports, and it is important that you know them, or at least know where to find them. There should be a list that looks something like the one I have here, the one for Sales Cloud. It describes all the available variables. The session variables with the user party ID we just used, session variables that are changing from session to session, typically because there's a different user, or repository variables, variables that are the same for everybody, but that are changing over time. I'll add a link to this particular list of Sales Cloud variables somewhere on this screen here. And here we're back at our list of open opportunities, but this time per customer. Now imagine you only want to see the opportunities for those accounts that do not have future activities, like planned meetings or calls. The subject area does not have any activity information available, so we cannot just make such a filter. But there is a special filter that allows us to use the output of a second report and use that to make such a filter. So let's check out that other report. Here I have a second report listing the accounts with their internal ID and the number of future activities that they have logged in the system. I will use this to build a filter to only show in the other report the opportunities for those accounts who do not appear in this list. All that I need to do now is go into criteria, use the internal ID for the customer to build a filter, and use the filter at the very bottom is based on the results of another analysis. I now can choose the second report we looked at earlier. Specify that we only want to see those customer IDs that are not equal to any of the customer IDs in the second report. And that's it. Prompts take filters a step further. So far we have hard-coded filters, then made them flexible using variables. But prompts allow us to make filters really dynamic. Using prompts, end users can change the filters on the fly. Let me show you how that's done. I go to prompts, and I'm going to add a column prompt. We'll talk about all the other types of prompts later. In this case, I'm going to make a prompt on our sales stage column, whereby the end user can choose a sales stage from a choice list that will be used in combination with an is-equal filter. Now when I preview my report, I first have to choose, optionally actually, a sales stage, and only then I see my results. And indeed I only see sales stage 1 qualification opportunities. And this is exactly what I don't like about these report prompts. The prompt and the result cannot be seen together. The same results can be obtained by using dashboard prompts, but I'll dedicate an entire episode in this series to dashboards and tell you all there is to know about prompts that I skipped earlier also. What is interesting to realize though is that although this prompt works as a filter, under criteria this filter is not visible. It is as if there were a hidden filter. There is only one special filter left to talk about, the is prompted filter. And let me use this revenue per industry report again to show you what it does. Let's first add it to this report and then have a look at the results. Under criteria, for industry I add the filter is prompted. But nothing has really changed. The filter hasn't done anything. The reason why is that the isPrompted filter only does something when it gets activated from somewhere else. This is the filter needed for dashboard prompts to interact with these reports. As I said before, we'll talk about dashboard and dashboard prompts some other time. But I had to discuss this filter as I will need it right now. This is the same industry report that we just looked at, but instead of showing revenue information, it just shows the number of opportunities for each industry. What I want to achieve is that when I click on the industry name, I will drill to the report we saw earlier, the one with the revenue information. I basically want to create a navigation path where I go from one report to another, from a high level to a more detailed level report. And it's so easily done. Back to criteria. And in the properties for industry, I will specify an interaction. I will basically say that whenever I click on the industry name, I want an action to happen. I want to link to another BI report. Our more detailed revenue per industry list. I could actually create a whole menu of little links I could click on to navigate away from this report. But as I only have one, I might as well hide that particular menu and activate the link straight away. Let's check out the results. First of all, my industry names have become links. And when I go in preview mode and click on an industry, it will take me to the revenue per industry report, but only for automotive. And that is what the isPrompted filter does. I clicked on automotive, and that value was given to the isPrompted filter that we created earlier in this report. Let me show you another example. I click on industrial manufacturing, and I see the details for industrial manufacturing. But I could even make it a little prettier. When I add a graph, that link still works. Now in preview mode, when I click on this slice of the pie for high technology, I also navigate to the revenue per industry report. It is that simple to navigate from report to report. And that is all I had to share about filters. I hope you've seen how filters reduce the amount of data appearing in your reports, how you can use variables to make flexible filters. Prompts allow for dynamic filters, where end users actually can change the filter on the fly. And last but not least, by creating navigation paths from report to report, you can create drill downs that make excellent alternatives for prompts, as you can navigate from high level to more detailed leveled reports. I hope you liked it, and if you do so, please like this video or subscribe to my channel, and I hope to see you soon for another episode of my Oracle BI video tutorial. Take care.